Rich Ham, here to ask Alice a question that's very important to me, and would like to just ask the question. Those of us who want to help others, especially if they don't have an orientation to energetic things, what is acceptable by the universe? Is there anything that allows us to help and not cross over the line of free will?
So what is coming up on that is that you were particularly interested in this instance in looking at helping children.
Correct.
And these are young children.
Correct.
So the very quick background apparently on young children is that their energetic field has not reached a level of maturity yet, so that caretakers, which would be babysitters, it could be babysitters, it's certainly parents if they're present, grandparents, teachers, people who are closely associated with a child in their care at that time.
Guardian. Right.
Guardians, right. Could be an older brother or sister, that sort of thing. That more adult person's energetic field has a great deal of influence on the child's energetic field, because the child will pick up, it's almost like tuning forks. They step into the presence of the adult's energetic field and start to vibrate at that level.
Got it.
That's a very simplified, quick catch up on what goes on there. And it's also a good admonition to each of us adults who may have an association with a child to keep our energy high, which we tend to do. You know, we love the child, all for the highest and greatest good. Unfortunately, in real life, that doesn't always happen.
Right.
So a child can pick up things in their auric field that are not that are not helpful, just to put it mildly. So I believe we're looking at any adult that falls into that category and any child who might need some sort. What do you think about the children? What are we looking at?
Specifically, it'd be energetic help anywhere from chakras all the way to something energetic going on that is just not helpful to them. That it is either blocking or causing an issue that...
Wow. Yeah, I'm saying wow because... it's a little complicated, which is not very helpful. However, I'm asking for clarification on when that child is with, let's say, a teacher, away from a more difficult situation with another caretaker. What can you do? You know what? And how lasting would the effect be? The issue being, the child doesn't necessarily understand what's going on energetically. Most children, at least that, come up around here, are not familiar with their own personal energetic field. They've not heard about this. It's nothing that you could really... So the question kind of becomes, it's kind of just like loving this child and wanting to help them, which is an energetic thing that's going on. And what can we do is my question to these guys, good guys, and what will the effect be? So
and if I may just jump in here real quick, sometimes a child is in an environment prior to their current environment where it seems to me that they've picked up some of this energetic stuff, and maybe they're in a better environment now, but this energetic stuff carries forward with them.
Has come along with them, absolutely, and can cause upset, can cause problems, can cause, not just for the child who is very uncomfortable, but for those around the child. Right.
For sure.
So that's raising a couple of issues. Actually, you know what they're showing me? So one suggestion, right? One suggestion. So let's say this child is going into a classroom or into a Sunday school class or into some group activity that has one adult who's in charge, I guess you'd say. if that adult is aware of energy, and we would hope they would be, they actually can create ask for a higher level of vibration in the space. And actually, the image they're showing me is, here's the door where all of the children come in, and adults. And it's almost like they have asked for putting up it's almost like you have to walk through this curtain.
Yep.
And in walking through the curtain, it kind of it leaves the heavier energy behind. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
outside the door. So that can, and I can actually feel that higher energy reflected in the teacher, because they just feel happier. They feel at a higher vibration. They're excited about they love these kids, and it just feels really good. So that would actually be an indication. So let's say the teacher knows that a couple of these kids are problematic, let's say. Disruptive is the word that's coming up. And so the image is that the teacher puts up this invisible barrier, or it's walk through.
Right.
It looks like science fiction. I wish you could see
it's
it.
Like,
it's kind of like
I
exactly.
think I know exactly.
Going through that.
Right. I get it.
But literally entering into a different energetic field, because that field has been raised.
I got a quick question on that specifically.
Yes.
Does that have to be renewed every day?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay. I figured. Okay.
Wow. And it also raises the issue for the individual child. Let's pick a really difficult kid whose habits are, not only are they influenced by something that is not helpful, but their behavior habits are very strong. Lying, I guess, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, their habits are pretty strong. So they may begin to act in the old familiar way for them, although it's going to be easier to stop that behavior, because it's a habitual reaction. It's not being promoted. It's not being pushed and emphasized by the energy.
Okay.
So the child will be more easily distracted off to this, that, or the other. The other thing that is coming up is, for that child, they receive a greater sense of peace than they are familiar with. Bless their little hearts.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, which is a really good thing for that individual child at that time. And I hope this is right. Now they're showing me this picture that I would definitely. I'm counting on this working now that they're bringing this up, because the image that they're showing me is that it's almost like the child reaches who they really are, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Within that space.
Within that space.
So I can confirm for you that did work for a little while, and I was actually doing what you suggest, and
really,
but I forgot to renew it. So I think that's great confirmation of that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't have to admonish our helpers out here, the good guys, to make sure this happens. It's kind of like, this will happen.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. And though I think there's more to that story.
Okay.
Well, I'm hoping, because I think that.
Well, that's like one thing.
Okay, one.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. What
that's
the
what
hell? Oh, yeah. And because then there's. So we're looking at the highest and greatest good for the little buddy, right? And so what happens when they leave the room, for example?
Right.
Let's see if they're going to show me. Well, one thing that's going on in the room is I'm seeing the teacher who is present in the room, who has a really big heart, who has beautiful energy, and is able to let that flow, because this kid is acting better, if that makes any sense. So it's just like a perpetually even better and better kind of feeling.
Right.
Teacher's feeling.
It's momentum.
It's momentum. Rising to this higher and higher level of energy. The whole classroom feels it, actually. It's like a really good day in this class. One thing that's kind of touching to me is, we're going to call this little guy Little Buddy.
Yeah.
That he so wants to come back to that after he leaves. It's kind of like for him, it's almost like who knew. Well, he has some inkling because this is a good teacher we're talking about. So he has. So there's a strong draw anyway to want to be in the presence of this teacher. But under these circumstances, he's really able to be genuine, be himself. He's left anything that isn't him, so to speak, behind, outside the classroom. So when he leaves, let's see what happens. Oh, I can see him happy. Like he didn't get happy before. He was, and it's like happy. Okay. The good news here is that he now knows, and hopefully people will remind him, he is capable of reaching that level of peace and happiness, because he's so often in this other more disruptive place that he doesn't often get to focus on that. So it may be encouraging to him to know that he is able to be happy and more peaceful and actually feel safe and secure. Aww.
Okay.
So when he leaves, I'm curious, like, does he pick all that stuff up again, or what happens? So he's leaving vibrating.
Well, he's a high vibration, so it would protect him some.
It does protect him some. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Sorry. Right. Okay.
And that's apparently kind of like the bigger overview as well. As a child who is not yet responsible for maintaining their own vibrational energy.
So they're going to flow with where they're at.
They will flow with especially when they aren't aware. I mean, you know, depending on 11, 12, 13, 14, you can start, well, why not teach kids earlier, actually?
Right.
But anyway, the responsibility of taking on your own energetic, being responsible for your own energetic vibration, protecting yourself energetically, keeping yourself at a high vibration, that sort of thing, will happen at different, depending on the individual, depending on their maturity, depending on their circumstance. So it isn't one size fits all, but generally it's going to be 11, that's young to me, but anyway, 11 to, wow, they're saying 15, 11 to 15, somewhere in there,
so they can
the
start
transition happens, and hopefully...
Older than that size, okay.
I know, me too,
Mm-hmm.
but that would be a less mature child, and one who has been held back from developing.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? It all has to do with their maturity level somehow.
Okay.
And not physical maturity. Well, physical maturity may have something to do with it, but it's more their emotional maturity.
Emotional intelligence kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is an admonition for us, I don't know who us is here, to teach children what's happening. They don't even know what's happening.
Exactly.
So that when they get to that age, whatever it is for them as an individual, they're prepared to take on that responsibility.
Okay.